Hey, beautiful mama. Welcome to the Radiant Mom Rising podcast, where we believe you were never meant to just survive. You were born to shine. I'm your host, Mary Dibble, life coach, mama of three, and your biggest cheerleader in creating a life and business you love. Each week, we dive into real conversations about mindset, motherhood, healing, and purpose, helping you break free from overwhelm, rediscover your worth, and rise into the confident, radiant woman you were meant to be. Because when moms rise, the world rises with us. So grab your coffee, take a deep breath, and let's get ready to rise together. Hey, Chantell. Thank you so much for joining us today. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm wonderful. Thank you so much for having me today, Mary.
I'm excited to have you. Let's get started. If you will, introduce yourself and tell the audience a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Sure. My name is Chantell Preston, and I have been a healthcare entrepreneur for about, oh gosh, I hate to even admit it, 30 years plus now. That kind of hurts saying it. Basically, I really kind of got into healthcare very unusual way. Sometimes it's like, everybody thinks you have to know everything. I really didn't know anything coming straight out of school, out of college. I got that great opportunity with kind of a smaller company halfway to the top in healthcare. And I thought, why not? I didn't know anything about it. I think it's kind of stupid. We all expect these kids to know straight out of school, what do you want to be when you grow up?
I
I
know.
still don't know what I want to be, but it was a great path forward. And I really got an opportunity to jump into healthcare and learn everything I possibly could. And, I found every person that would give me information. I was a human sponge. I wanted to learn all aspects, even though my job was really more around recruiting physicians, putting together these ambulatory surgery centers, which was outpatient surgery. But what I realized is that I really liked building things. I liked seeing things from concept to operations. So I kind of found a niche for myself of building healthcare facilities. And people say, well, what exactly is that? Great question. I didn't know either. But it's basically taking it, maybe overseeing the architecture, the equipment procurement, licensure, all aspects to getting a facility up and running. And so I really fell into that. And again, learning all aspects, it was a great ride. But kind of in my late 20s, I went out on my own being a consultant and I realized I wanted to build a company. I wanted to build something that I could be proud of that would help others within healthcare. And so we started a company called Menis Nerve Rehabilitation, and we provided rehabilitation to traumatic brain injury patients. So kind of like with all of us entrepreneurs, we're like, oh, how hard can it be? Well, it's super hard. Anytime you do a startup, it's super hard. So I kept developing while we grew Mentis, so we'd never had to raise big money. We wanted to bootstrap as much as we could. And so it gave us the opportunity to grow our business in kind of a way we weren't like really quick at growing. We wanted to do it the right way by building infrastructure. And so after a while, I totally focused on Mentis. We built it from concept. We did exit to private equity in 15. We can talk a lot about that here today. And once that happened, I realized that, my heart just wasn't in it anymore. So I kind of changed things in life. And now my focus is really around helping women, helping elevate and empower women. And by doing that is changing kind of the lies or reframing the lies we've been told as to how we're supposed to behave in business to who we are and being ourselves and living our best lives by all the innate traits that we have.
Oh, that's incredible. And I love to hear. See, this is why I love sharing these journeys on this show because it's so neat to see how things unfold. Like you start in one area and you find a love for it and you kind of have that season of, you know, showing up for that. And then it's like something else happens that moves you along to what you're meant for next. And it's like, I love to share that because I think that so many people are afraid, like you said earlier, they put this pressure on you about, or you have to make a decision of who you're going to be and what you're going to do for the rest of your life out of school. And it's like you barely are living yet, so you don't really know until you get out there. So I find it awesome to see how things can work together to prepare you for what you're meant for. And I think it's beautiful that you're helping women in this way. And this is exactly what I'm passionate about for moms and women in general, too, because I think it is so important that we shift from a lot of the beliefs that has held us back from really receiving what's meant for us. So tell us a little bit about how that's unfolded for you in your life and like how, kind of speak to that for someone listening.
Sure. I came out of school and I thought, oh, I've got to be this, dictator type leader because I was living in a man's world and to be respected. So I built this armor around me in regards to who I was as a leader. It was my way or no way, do as I say, not as I, what, do as I'm told, do as I say, not as I'm told. And so it was a really pivotal time for me because the first 10, 15 years was around being a leader that I thought I needed to be. Let me just
Uh,
say it that way.
yeah.
And then when I realized and I took over my hospitals, I also own hospitals. I took over my hospital company in 2018. I realized I can't be that leader anymore for a couple different reasons. Number one, that wasn't who I was.
Yeah.
I didn't enjoy being that person. I didn't enjoy being one way in my personal life and a different way in my professional life.
Mhm.
And I also realized kind of as I transitioned that I really gained more out of my staff and my employees
Mhm.
by being relatable, by being who I really was, by not being so serious all the time, being me. And so I
Yeah.
really took that to heart. And I realized that when I took over my hospitals and facilities management group, how can I be the leader I want to be? And that's when I changed I threw everything I was told out the window and said, I'm going to be who I am. And I'm going to be relatable. Doesn't mean I'm not going to have high expectations for my staff, but we can still laugh. We can have fun. I'm going to build boundaries, but at the same time, I want to help grow the next generation. And I can't do that unless I'm allowing them to collaborate, to have input, to be part of the team versus me telling them what to do. And so I really changed who I was as a leader. And that was a really pivotal time for me. And if you look at where I was versus where I am now, it's significantly different in regards to how people work with me. I never say they work for me, they work with me and
I
how we
love
build our companies
that. Yeah.
because again, I want to build the next generation and that's the best way to do it.
Yes. And I mean, as a mom, that's what we're doing too, right?
Yeah.
We're working to build our that next generation, and it's important how we show up for ourselves because we model that for our kids. And I mean, I think I love that you're working on that because as someone who's been an employee
Yeah.
most of her life, the higher ups never think about like all that we go through and the fact that we work so hard to make it possible for them to have what they have and to live the way they live. And then I feel like I worked for so many people who just took that for granted, who didn't appreciate it. And there's nothing more demoralizing than to work for, someone who doesn't really know or understand what you do for this company. And so I think that's awesome. And I think that's a woman thing too. Like we love to bring that into this of understanding and having that empathy and really connecting and showing the appreciation. I know for me, like anyone who works for me, that is something I'm always like mindful about. It's like I want them to feel always appreciated and to understand that I am so grateful for their help because they take something off of me. They help make something possible for me. And I think that's so important. I think that's awesome to bless each other. So I can imagine how that has flourished for you in your revenue and the abundance that's happened since then.
For sure. And if you look at,
Yeah.
let's unpack that just a little bit
Yes.
more because you look at who I was when I was with Mentis, which is my brain injury group. Again, I didn't care about your personal life. I didn't care about the things outside of that. I was so engrossed with just what we were trying to achieve. I didn't see the whole person. I only saw it as a job. Well, then I realized, but wait, am I really getting the most out of people? And I have to say, when I had my daughter, late in life, I realized how things do change. And I swore to everybody I wasn't going to change. Oh, I'm going to be the exact same. I'm not going to change. I totally changed, right? I
Mhm.
tried to avoid it and I tried to do
Yeah.
everything to prevent it, but I did change. And I realized that there is so much more to knowing the person as a whole and being able to set them up for success by giving them a great environment to work in. And that means being flexible to what they need because I realize if they're able to take off early to go, watch their kids' soccer game,
Yeah.
they were happy, which again provided a better environment. It didn't mean they weren't getting their job done.
Yeah.
It was just being more flexible as to who they were as a person and taking the time as a leader to sit down and say, "Hey, how are you today? Let's talk about things." But also, "Hey, how was that game? How did your children win?" And I realized how prideful people were when I took an interest in them as a person, not just as an employee. And it made a huge difference in just the culture and atmosphere in all aspects because they were happier at work. What does that mean? That
Mhm.
means they showed up at work, they were more productive at work, and it
Yeah.
wasn't really that was not the purpose behind it, but those were the great benefits that came from being who I was as a person, just being authentic to who I was.
Yeah. And I mean, it does make a big difference for because like again, we're human. Like we all have feelings, we all have our lives. And I used to say that I remember being like, I love how they act like I'm not allowed to have a life outside of work. Like it's like that's all I'm there. It's like, and there's a lot of people who are like that. They have that mentality that
I
you're
used to
just,
be like that. Yeah,
yeah, see,
I was that
there you go.
person. I'll be the first to admit
Yes.
it.
And
Again,
hey, you
didn't
know
care about
what?
your personal. That's right.
But
That's
how
right.
big of you, though, to recognize that and to shift that in your life and really become true to who you are, like you say. But it's like also going back to how like we're taught and the beliefs, like feeling like we have to show up in this way because it's the work life or the business, the leadership. That's what it
Mhm.
means to be a leader. Like, no. And I like that this is what I feel like is happening so much in around me in today's world is that we're standing up and realizing no, it doesn't have to be just this specific way. Like we get to make our own unique path. And this is one of the things I love to share with moms is like understanding the challenges that we face as we take action on what we want, but understanding that it's not gonna always happen exactly when or how we want it to. But this is why you got to do something anyways, because you'll never find that place. You'll never be able to shift in the ways you're supposed to or learn the lessons that you're meant to so that you can, you know, create that difference in the end that you're looking for or receive that abundance and the wealth that you want without going through this crap part.
Oh, it's the messy middle, of
I know,
course. Well,
yes.
and think about it. In my generation, we were taught so many things about how to live, and
Yeah.
when you get to a certain age, I think it was 50 when I got to go, wait a minute, who's they? Who came up with all this BS that says you can have it all? No, you
Yeah.
can't, not at the same time. And that's okay. We have to say yes to everything. No, we don't. Why?
Yeah.
Why do I have to put everybody else before myself? There was just a lot
Right.
of generational things that we were taught
Yeah.
as kids that have maybe caused us a lot of headaches and issues throughout our lives.
Mhm.
Probably been in therapy a little bit about some of it, but also we realize that that's not what we want to be and who we want to be known for. So it's like, how do we take the lies we've been told and reframe them into a positive? Just like saying no to things. I have the hardest time saying no to things because I'm so used to, you say
Yes,
yes,
please.
to everything. And as a kid, you just say yes.
Yeah.
So I got into a habit of saying yes. And then I realized, wait a minute, does this really
Mhm.
help me achieve my goals and dreams? No.
Mhm.
So why am I doing it? Because I feel guilty? I had to reframe it in my mind. When I say no to something, it's giving someone else an opportunity, right? And so now all of a sudden, I don't feel guilty because I realize that me saying no is a great thing. It's giving somebody else an opportunity and it's giving the person that's asking the right resource that they need at that
Mhm.
time that can allot the time
Yeah.
needed to achieve whatever they were looking for. So again, it's about reframing in your mind
Yeah.
how you say and what you do in your life to make it work for you.
Yeah, it truly is. And that's that I'm the first to admit I'm a huge people pleaser. Like that was a huge reason why I was led down to so many, bad choices because I wanted approval. I wanted people to like me. And I thought
External
that that's
validation. Yes. Give
exactly.
it
And
to
that's,
me.
oh my
Yes.
God, it's exhausting. And you are not kidding. As you get older, and I'm glad I'm getting there sooner than later because I know that some people, it takes them a little bit longer, but I'm like, I'm trying to get to that point where I stop caring. Like
Yeah.
when anyone thinks of me, like I am who I am. I love this journey that I'm on. I'm not going to stop being me. And it's so fun to get to be in a world now where I get to be me and I don't feel like I have to put on a mask or I get to say no, like you say, not have that guilt because I mean, I've realized the importance of that self-care. It's no joke. Like it's like people just take that for granted. Like, oh, self-care is like, bubble baths and all these things. I'm like, no, it's truly, even if it's a matter of making sure you drink enough water throughout your day, that you're
Mhm.
taking that time to just pause and breathe because you can tell that your nervous system is getting off track and you're going to end up snapping at your kids or losing it. It's like those little things that we just don't realize are so powerful in shifting all our energy so that we can show up with, joy and peace and make it more easier on ourselves because that's the thing about it. It's like the way we react to these situations or how we respond to the challenges, it will determine how the outcome will determine how much we suffer or don't suffer. So I'm really working myself to be very mindful of, like you say, saying no is such a beautiful power. And, even like with people who say no to you in your business, who say, I don't need your services, that's okay. That is their right and their power behind it. And so it is with us too. When we have something where we were like, thank you, but I'm good. I don't need that right now. It's a beautiful thing. It really is.
It is. And sometimes, we talk about the universe and God, everything happens for a reason. I used to
Right.
hate that saying, but I realized I've embraced it. I can't control everything in life. And
No.
sometimes we don't realize, it's an opportunity somewhere else. There's a divine intervention somewhere in regards to why it's not working out.
Yeah.
I grew up in a world where you had to have either a career or a family. You couldn't have both, right? That's what I felt. That's what I thought till I was 37 and I had my daughter. And then I realized, wait a minute, somebody's been telling me the wrong thing because I love being a parent, but I also love working. So
Mhm.
how can I integrate the two together? And, again, it's not easy. Let's just all say it out loud. We're all
Yeah.
struggling every
Yes.
day, all day. We're still struggling. And the bar's not really high at my house. It's does everybody have their limbs at the end of the day? And so again, it's like, how do you bring them into that and create an integration?
Mhm.
People talk about balance. I don't really think there's a balance because I
Yeah.
think, you're always going to ebb and flow one way or the other. So how do we integrate the two
Yeah.
together? Because I truly feel like being a parent makes me a better leader. Being a leader makes me a better parent.
Yeah.
So how can I use those two skills, the skills that I learn on both aspects for both? And I think a lot of them, the old adage was, hey, check it at the door. Well, why? I run my house like a CEO, right? Because why am I the one doing all the work? Why am I not, delegating to my family
Mhm.
members, just like I do my team members? It builds their own confidence. So
Yeah.
a lot of the things that I've learned in leadership, I really deployed at work, at home,
Yes.
so I
I
can
imagine.
build great people at the same time in my household, just like I am with my employees.
Exactly. And it's so powerful. And you're teaching your kids such life skills that they need. So I always admire parents like you who are willing to do that delegation and instead of doing it all for their kids, because first of all, it's exhausting when you try to take it all on and you don't have to. You're not supposed to either because you're depriving them
That's
of,
right.
like you say, learning these things for themselves. And it's really it is important, and I love the way that you're right. It's a definitely a lesson as being a mom, and the skills that we learn, negotiation, dealing with the
Sure.
challenges at different phases. I mean, all that training, potty training, all these things are still skill sets that we can, like you say, incorporate within each other and learn and grow. And I think it's a very powerful way to see it and have that perspective of it. And I mean, you at 37, you said you had a daughter or
I had a daughter,
oh
yes.
my goodness. So tell us like what that was like for you being a mom and staying within that.
You
Did
know,
you have
it,
business world?
it it was a hard situation, I will tell you, because I was so fearful of losing my identity at work by having a child. And so hence I waited so long and finally was like, oh, time's going to run out. I better hurry up and have one or clock's ticking. I was so concerned about it changing my identity and how I was viewed at work that I probably did some things I shouldn't have done. Like I had Addison on a Friday. I went back to work on Tuesday because my clients are like, where are you? They didn't care I was having a child. And, at that point in my life, that fear and identity was so wrapped up in work that I did everything probably wrong. Let me just say
Okay.
that out loud. I'll be the first to admit I did it wrong because I was so worried about that. I wasn't worried as much about Addison. I was like, oh, they'll be okay, right? I mean, I got a long time to figure this out. We make decisions, and I really didn't embrace motherhood as I should have initially, and I really had to make up for it later. And, that aha moment, everybody says I was at work, we were building this company. That was my whole livelihood was building this company, right?
Yeah.
Success to me meant money and title because that's how I grew up. I grew up in a world that, in my family, as dysfunctional as we were, it was all about success and money.
Mm.
So in my world, that's what I thought. And so I was so focused on that outcome that I forgot to enjoy the journey along the way. And then when I reached that pinnacle and I thought, this is it, I have it all now, it
Yeah.
was the worst time of my life
Mm.
because I was focused on the wrong things. And that's when I realized my 5-year old was standing there and she's like, hey, mom, here I am. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't feel like I bonded with my child. So that's when I really made a huge pivot in my life of let's redefine what success means. And
Yeah.
success now means to me being able to spend time with the people that I love, but yet still living out my purpose and having a job that I enjoy and that can, fill my cup every day. And so, again, it's about redefining what success means to you versus what society says success is. And to your point, you made a comment earlier about season and reason. It's going to change throughout your life too. There are certain times that you can do things because, before I had kids, great, no problem. I could do whatever I wanted, right? I didn't have anybody depending on me. It's all about looking at what's important right now.
Yeah.
And, how do I look at, not just the next 5 years, but the next 6 months, the next 9 months, the next year? How do certain things play into the timing and the phase of life that I'm in? And I'm really intentional about that now, where I used to not even think about that.
Yeah, I love it. And that's exactly why I want to help moms with when you said that part about not enjoying the journey. This is what I see so many people do, and it breaks my heart because you really miss out. You're so focused on the end result that you really miss out on what's so important. And I love the whole, really asking yourself, like, what does success look like for you? Because, that was a shift for me too. When I first started on this entrepreneurial journey, I felt the same way as far as like feeling like I had to do all the things and show up to all these classes and learn everything I can. And lo and behold, I didn't realize how much I was missing out on my kids. They were very young. And it was, actually my husband helped open my eyes to that a lot because he was like, we miss you. And even my daughter, like, just the fact that she's like, Mommy, why are you so busy? Why are you so busy? And it's just like, it made me realize you got to sometimes, take a step back and evaluate, is this really worth it? Is this how I want this to unfold? Because I feel like when you kind of set yourself up from the get-go of like setting that up as that's the way it's going to be or how, this is what it's going to take to get to that, it's almost like you're putting it out there like this is how it has to be, and then that's how you miss out on things. So my goal was to be like, okay, no, 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 I want my business to unfold in the way that fits my life, not the other way around. So it's like I still honor that I do have things to do, and I get that it takes work and hustling a little bit, but at the same time I feel like there is a way to be healthy about it and still balance it and still make it your own. Like I have this thing, for instance, like evenings and the weekends, I try my best to not get on social media. I will sometimes here and there pop in when I'm like I have a little downtime, but I have this ultimate like my intentions is my family and
Mhm.
people can wait. And that was something I had a hard time with because I'm a people pleaser. I don't like to keep people waiting. So I used to have to struggle with that and work on it to be like, it's not the end of the world. It'll be all right. They can
Well,
wait, and it doesn't mean that I don't care or that I won't be able to help them when the time comes. And I've learned to believe in divine timing. And I love it because it's so true when you see it that way and understand like, gosh, you guys, like people just meet and things happen exactly when it's meant to. Like, and when you don't fight against that and allow it to be, whew, the magic that can happen is incredible. and,
Well,
and
there's a few things I tell people all the time is
yeah,
I'm about quality time, not quantity time with my
yeah,
kids. I think a lot of people mistake that they have to be with their kids all the time to make them feel like great parents.
yeah,
But are you emotionally available when you're with your kids? There's a big difference there. And so I quit feeling guilty for the things that I was doing, like for work,
yeah,
because I realized that I wanted to spend quality time with them, not quantity. So I'll be honest, I'm not the parent that's going to take you to the practices every day, but I'll show up to every game. I'll show up to the important things. We're going to have date day every, month or every week. So we have that one-on-one where I am emotionally available to you 110%. And I have to tell you, I've really seen a difference in my kids because they look forward to that.
yeah,
The
they do.
what I call the unfun times, that's not for me. I'm not that person. And I had the same thing that your daughter was saying, why do you have to be gone? Why are you always
Yeah,
working? All those things. And I finally sat him down. I said, let me tell you why. Because I need a purpose in life. And I said, I have 3 daughters. I want you to know that you can do anything in this world and you never question your abilities or your confidence. And I said, and if I can change the narrative with younger people and or people my age
yeah,
of reframing the things that we thought we had to do to living our
yeah,
best lives, and I can
yeah,
help with that, then the possibilities are endless. And it's fascinating because now my kids go, oh, are you going to go help so and so? Good to see you. We'll see you tomorrow. And so
yeah,
it's really integrating them into it has made a huge difference with my kids. But also to your point of
yeah,
also them being delegated, have making contributions to the family, they feel important. They
yeah,
feel like they're contributing. And I think that
yes.
that's such a huge thing I'm not perfect at it. Let me just say that right now. I'll be
Who
full
is?
disclosure, not
Who
perfect at it.
is?
Especially with my oldest, it's like a
Yeah.
battle. She's 14. I mean, we're like this most of the time, as to what's being done. And so, but it is important for
Mhm.
us to realize we don't have to do everything on our own because they want to feel important and contribute just like
Yeah.
people want to help you. We talk about mentors, and let's talk about women and building
Yeah.
our community and our, I call it our tribe.
Yeah.
You have to put yourself in a situation where you're
Mm.
around like-minded people, and not everybody wants to see you be successful. Let's just throw that out there. So it's very important to make sure that you're surrounding yourself with, I call it my internal board of directors,
Yeah. Love it.
not yes people, but people that are challenging you, people that understand what you're going through, people that are your cheerleader, but yet your critic at the same time.
Yeah.
How can they help you become a better person? And I think we're such loyal creatures in a
Yeah.
way that we've got the friends that we've been friends with forever that we love that are just suck the energy out of us, right? How do we set boundaries so we can continue to be our best selves and not feel that guilt of loyalty and let them drag us down with them? And I think that's such a critical thing, especially with women. We love to just, as you mentioned, be
Yeah.
pleasers with everybody and be loyal, but at the same time, are they, I call it the vacuum, are they sucking the life out of
Yes.
you? Are they battery? Are they the ones that are providing you all that positive energy? So I think it's important for us as mom and as, leaders and, wanting to build our careers, entrepreneurs, how can we balance that?
Yeah, and like you said it perfectly, boundaries. And I also want to touch on another point you said earlier that I love is how you sat down your kids and explained it to them about why you're doing what you're doing. And I've done that a lot with my daughter, Brea. She's 6 years old, so she's starting to really kind of more understand things.
Yeah.
And I love that because I feel like she needs to understand like mommy's working towards her dreams. Like mommy's doing something that matters. And like I love having her watch me like edit my podcast or do things like that to see like mommy's, this is what mommy's working towards. And I think that's so important that we, because growing up I feel like a lot of times, and especially in the older generations, like you get dismissed a lot. Like you're like, hey mommy, why are you doing this? Because I can't, because I said so. And it's like you just get dismissed, and so you don't get this understanding of like, well why? And so it's easy to feel like, well, I guess I'm just not important.
That's
Or,
right.
and so I don't ever want my kids to feel that way. So I just wanted to touch on that when you said that earlier, because I was like, oh my God, that's beautiful. Because I don't think we do that enough with our kids sometimes. We don't just sit there and really give them the chance to explain. I mean, they don't see the world through our eyes, they don't understand it yet. And so it's easy for us to just assume that they should understand, but they don't. And so it's nice to like give them that time and that intention of like explaining and because like again, we're role modeling this for that, which leads to them seeing what's possible for them. And so I just wanted to touch on that because I think that's absolutely beautiful. Something I think we should be doing more with our kids is, really giving them that time to understand and not just see it, but, really have those conversations around it too. And yeah, you're right. I mean, it's as I get older and I'm sorry, I know that 14 year, I was a terrible teen. So I,
Yeah.
I
Most of us were,
Yes,
Mary. So
yes. I think
yes.
it's a girl thing because like I have a
Yeah.
son right now, he's 17 years old. I'm like, oh my God, he could not be the best. Like he's the best teen. Like he's awesome. And I couldn't be prouder of like what he's doing in his life and how he treats me. And he still says he loves me and hugs me and he's so great. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I adore that. And he's hardworking. He does the dishes, he mows the yard, he does his own laundry, cleans his own room and stuff, does even the bathroom. So I've always been again a big advocate for that because I think that like I said, tell them, I mean, you're going to have your own place someday, you're going to have your own bills, you're going to have to start learning these things for yourself. So definitely think, I know that this journey is like wild with these the
I know
different
it.
age range.
It's very different. I have a 14-year-old and I have twin 8-year-olds, and they're all girls. And so it's a huge difference in mentality. And my 14-year-old, she's a dancer. I do own a dance studio in Houston. I opened a dance. We talk more about integration. How
Yeah.
could I spend as much time with her and really bring it together where I can help her flourish and live her dreams,
Yeah.
but yet still be able to maintain my purpose in life?
Love that.
Because at the same time, one of the things I love is changing the narrative for the next generation. Well, what a better opportunity than having these kids within my dance studio. I do a mental resilience program with them. I do other things because at the end of the day, most of these kids will probably not be professional dancers, but what they
Mhm.
can learn is great life skills
Yeah.
that maybe I was never taught when I was young, life skills
Yes.
that they can utilize throughout their entire lives. And that's confidence,
Mhm.
collaboration. How do we compete against each other, but yet still support each other? All
Yeah.
the things that I wished I would have been taught at a very young age. And we're taught it through sports and things like that, but not to the degree. And now dealing with social media,
Yeah.
there's just so many other distractions. So, how can we provide a positive environment where they can learn and really figure out who they are and what do they want versus, what society tells them they need to be?
Yeah.
So, again,
Yes.
it's integrating the two together.
Yeah, I think it's beautiful, and it's so it's huge what you're doing because especially the younger generation because they are easily influenced because they're
Yeah,
so it's hard not to be insecure. I mean, there's so much going on in today's world, especially with social media and all they have access to. It's if they don't have that foundation growing up of like really loving themselves and believing in who they are and not feeling they have to be a sheep and follow the crowd, then it is easy for them to get sucked into to who knows what. So I think that's absolutely beautiful what you're doing. Something I want to create, because me working with moms, I feel like that's my core longing is to help the moms be so secure and confident in herself and in her beliefs that she gets to model that for her kids and actually
that's
pass
right.
that on. But I love children and I would love to create something for them as well in the future that helps them as well to have those core skills of believing in themselves, having that confidence, believing in what's possible, not feeling like they have to follow the crowds and things like that. So I admire that. And I love that she does dance. I'm a dancer. I've never professionally danced, but I taught myself how to dance and I love to dance. So I think that's really neat that you do
Oh,
that.
she didn't get it from me. I'll just say that out
Yeah.
loud. And, and it's her journey. And I tell her all the time,
Yeah.
this is your journey, kid. To your
Yeah.
point is, these kids, I mean, I want to give her the ability to figure out what does she want in life and figure
Yeah.
out how does she want to create that journey for herself. It's not me pushing her, it's her pushing herself. Now, again, sometimes I have to put some boundaries around that
Of
because I want
course.
her to be very well rounded,
Yeah.
but it's like, I want her to have her own journey and not
Yeah.
follow necessarily what I'm doing, but follow what she's passionate about and to find her own purpose. And I think that that's so critical. And we talk a little bit, I want to go back to something we we're talking about. I also love to work. I
Mhm.
love it. I tell people all that I've never worked a day in my life. Why? Because I've always enjoyed what I've been doing.
That's
And I
awesome.
think that's a mindset. And I want to
Yeah.
make sure my kids know that going to work is not a negative, it's a
Yeah.
positive, right? It's something that you look forward to, not, oh gosh, I got to go to work again. So I
Yeah.
want to create an environment where they see it as a positive, not a negative. And I think that that's, different than what I grew up with. It was like, oh, I always got to go to work. I hate
Yeah.
work. Whereas
Yeah.
I love it. And I want my kids to know it's okay to love to work as long as you set boundaries. And again, you don't lose focus of the journey along the way. Don't be so focused on the future, but be present and be, able to make those connections because those are just as important as anything else you're going to do.
Absolutely. It is. And I love that because it is so like what you were saying earlier too about the community and surrounding yourself with like-minded people. That's another problem I see is like we grow up as women, especially of comparing ourselves
That's right.
and competing in the wrong ways. And so I think it's important through these life skills that we're teaching them and through allowing them to find their own path and their own way, but also understanding like this is why you have to be careful who you surround yourself with because
For sure. For
yeah,
sure.
it is, and I love personally the people that because of this journey that I'm on. You're right. Like I grew up the same way, like hating, like it's like for me, I was taught work is all about paying bills. Like I have to work
Yep.
to pay the bills. And so having this shift in my mindset from the scarcity to abundance, it's amazing because even with what I'm doing, I remember, when you first get started in the business, you're not making money at first. I mean, that's why I think it's so important that these kids understand, like, do what you love and the money will show up.
Mhm.
Maybe not right away, but that's the thing because when, like you say, it doesn't feel like work. Everything I do, everything I've done, everything I've learned, it fills my cup in such a way that I didn't need money to validate that. And I love that. And that is a beautiful way to teach. I just think that's incredible. Anyone listening, just listen to that, just to think for yourselves about like what we're showing our children, what we're teaching them, how we're getting to do that for ourselves, like where we get to change the narrative. We do not have to stay stuck in this generational conditioning or beliefs or
That's
whatever that we've been taught, or even the trauma, the things that we've been through in our past does not have to define who we are today and where we get to go. And that's why we don't need to stay in that. Like, I understand reflecting and acknowledging those pains or the things that we've struggled with, but I also really love and believe in, like you say, being present in our now and knowing that, we can't change that. We can learn
right.
from it, grow from it, evolve, and we do have the power though to get to decide where we're going to go next. And that is, God, that's so amazing in itself. And that's what I'm fighting for.
Well, so let's talk about that because you
Yeah.
just opened a whole nother level that I love to talk about. If you ever listen to my TED Talk, you'll hear about my TED Talk's really going from trauma to triumph, right? We all have situations, challenges from our younger days, let's just say that could really define who we are. So it's your choice. And I'm big proponent of you choose how you want to live your life. You can choose to be a victim or you can choose to conquer whatever you think you can conquer. And you made a couple statements. What you believe is what you become, right? And so, how are you talking to yourself? And I think women, we can be our worst enemies,
Oh yeah.
right?
Oh
We
yeah.
talk to ourselves, we think we can't do anything. We have to have everything to be perfect before we're willing to jump off the cliff and start a business. How do we become more confident in who we are? We know who we are. It's the external world that's telling us we're not who we are.
Yeah.
And so, if we could really dig deep and realize that, to your point, I'm not going to let what's happened in the past define who I am. And not everything has to be perfect. I love the analogy because guys, you say, "Hey, let's go do a company XYZ," and they're like, "Yes, let's go. We'll figure it out." Whereas women, okay, hold on, I got to be perfect. The model's
Yes.
got to be perfect. Everything has to be perfect, and then it's got to be a perfect again, and then I'll do it. No,
Yeah.
be confident in yourself. Jump off. If it's 50, 60%,
Oh yeah.
go, just start. And I think that's the biggest problem that I see with women entrepreneurs
Yeah.
is that they get so caught up in having everything perfect that they're too scared to just go. And sometimes start before you're ready.
Oh
Okay,
yeah.
that's what I tell everyone. Start before you're ready. Start talking to everyone. Network. People want to help you, right?
Yeah.
But if you don't ask, they're not going to help you. And I have a lot of friends and women that I in my own community that are just scared to ask, that
Yeah.
don't have that confidence. You talked about negotiations earlier. Hey, look, what's harder than negotiating with a toddler to go to bed, right?
Right.
That's like the best negotiation skills you can get. And
Yeah.
most of the time I lost on that one.
Yeah.
But how do we use those skills and that confidence that we have as being a parent
Yeah.
to put it into our work life or our business life? How can we take those things and say, you know what, you're right, I can do this, and talk to ourselves in a manner that's positive, not negative? I hear a lot of women, you hear them talking to themselves in their heads, and I'm like, wait, what are you saying to yourself? And you hear this, I can't do this, I'm so
Yeah.
stupid, all these things. Stop saying things like that
Yeah.
because you're believing them. And if you don't rewire your brain that, hey, I can do this, or maybe, I'm not there yet, instead of I
Yes.
can't. I hate the word I
Yeah.
can't. I think I heard that in one of your podcasts.
Yes.
I don't let my kids say it. It's like, we're not there yet. Why? Because you believe what you tell yourself.
Yeah.
And people say, what's your superpower? They ask me all the time. I'm like, that I never cared what other people thought of me,
Mm.
right? Because I knew what I could do. So I was going to bet on myself. And trust me, I've failed at a lot of things. We only talk about our successes, we never talk about our failures. I don't consider it a failure. I consider it a life lesson.
Yeah.
I learned so much from those failures that it's helped me get to where I am. But I think in society, we've started turning it, I failed to I'm a failure.
Yeah.
Well, you're not a failure because you failed. It just means something didn't work out. Okay, so great. So what did you learn from it? How do you pivot? What is something I can do differently? In
Yeah.
most businesses that I have, what we thought we were going to be and what we ended up being were two totally different things,
Yes. Yeah. Isn't that funny how
right?
that
And so,
works?
yeah, so stop getting
Yeah.
so focused on, oh, I have to have it this way.
Yeah.
No, what you want it, because sometimes you put your blinders on and you don't see the other opportunities in front of you.
Yep.
So, how can I see it all and listen? Again, be intentional.
Yeah.
Don't be stupid with your time, but be intentional.
Yes.
But how can you make sure you don't miss something because you're so focused on just one thing, if that
Yeah.
makes sense?
Completely. I mean, it. this is what this journey is all about. Like
Yeah.
it is going through it and figuring it out as you go. Like I didn't know like half this crap when I first started either, but I
I'm
wouldn't
still
have
trying to figure
known.
it out,
Me
right? I
too,
mean,
of
yeah.
course. Exactly. But that's what I love because it's a lifelong journey. It's not like I think it's actually fun if we can allow it to be to like see it in that way and just be like, okay, God, what are you bringing? What are you bringing next for me?
That's
And
right.
just be open to that. Like I said, like I had this one conversation, this woman right now who I'm part of her summit. I would never be part of her summit if I didn't have the courage to send her a cold message. I had no idea who she was, but I just reached out and let her know who I am and what I do and to see if she needed any support or whatnot. And even if she didn't need my service, we just connected, had a coffee chat, and became the best of friends. So to the point, like now she invited me to be part of her summit, and who knows what else could happen. But like you say, with networking, putting yourself out there, people, like that is what it's all about. You never know who needs what you have to offer, and they'll never know what you offer if you don't share it with the world.
Well, and everybody goes, "Oh, I don't have time. I don't have any more
Oh,
time." Well, that's
I hear
part of
that.
carving out time of,
Hmm.
that should be something you're doing
Yeah,
consistently because it's important to who you are, whether it's your personal friends or business
yeah.
friends. How do I carve out even an hour, every couple weeks to just, hey, let's go have coffee. Let's go do this,
Yes.
put yourself out there. And look, I love meeting new people. I love hearing their
Yeah.
stories. And it's fascinating. That may not resonate right now with me, but then 5 years later, I go, oh my gosh, you remember when I met that lady? And I'll go back and be like, hey, you're never going to believe what I'm doing now. I'd love for you to. So again, you
Yeah.
don't know when those relationships will come back up, but it's so important. And here's what I tell women too is we have a tendency to get into a room of women for networking and we talk about our kids, we talk about our spouses, we talk about all kinds of things. We don't talk about our business and our ask. Make sure you have an ask because women want to help each other. But if we don't know how to help you,
Yeah.
whose fault is that?
Yeah.
And so it's like
That's true.
people again want to understand. And I'll give you an example. I invest in a lot of things, and people will say to me all the time, I want to invest in the things that you want to invest in. Well, to me, that makes me nervous because I'm like, oh, I mean, I do some crazy things sometimes. I don't know if that's a good idea for these people. But then a friend of mine put it in a different perspective. Why aren't you giving us the opportunity
Yeah.
to invest in the things that you're investing in? I was like, oh my gosh, you're right. You're an adult. You make a good decision, right, wrong, or indifferent. So why am I not giving them the opportunity?
Yeah.
And so again, it's about those reframes of how I think of things and that mindset. So
Yes.
I tell people all the time, networking and talking, I drive my kids nuts because I will talk to everybody and I love it. They think I'm nuts. And maybe I am just a little bit, but it's like, I want to know what people's stories are because again, I may be able to help them or vice versa. And it's so important to build those relationships before you need something
Yeah.
because that's when,
Gotta love it.
that genuine connection happens.
It is. And it's one of the reasons why I love this that I do with the podcast because I
Yeah.
feel like it's given me the opportunity, out of the comfort of my home. I work from home, so I don't get the opportunities to go out. And especially as a mom, this has been my way to connect with people, make friendships, and just give people that space to like share their truth and have, like you say, these authentic conversations, connections, and I just trust that, God's just gonna bring them my way, and Lord knows He has. And I'm so grateful for it. And I'm grateful just for everything that I've allowed because I was courageous enough to just
Mhm.
do it, even though I had no freaking clue what I was doing. And I still don't always know what I'm doing.
And
But
nobody does. And those people that think they do
exactly.
any good, they're lying. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
we don't know what we're doing. And that's why, I always tell people, put it out in the world. You never know
Yeah.
what's going to happen. And I mean, every morning when I get up, I'm like, okay, I'm going to have a great day, and I'm
Yes.
talking myself into it because it's like I'm setting my mindset
Yep.
from the get-go as it's going to be a great day. Things happen, shit happens. Let's just say
Of
that out loud.
course. Yeah.
And so, but it's like gives me the opportunity to start on a positive. And I think that
Yeah.
that's, in the world we're living in today, that's such a great thing
Yeah.
is, you go in with a positive and just stay on that track. It's
Mhm.
amazing what that energy will do to the people around you.
Oh yeah. I
You
mean,
know,
you just don't know the difference you can make for somebody just by them listening to you and
that's right.
your story. So it is like our voice, our stories are so powerful in so many ways for others. And it's why it doesn't matter if 100 or thousands of people are doing the same thing you are. We still all have our own uniqueness about ourselves,
Right.
and people are not are going to connect with you who are meant to connect with you. And you have to trust in that and believe in that. But they'll never find you if you don't put yourself out there. So,
That's exactly right. And again, there's so many different things that we could talk
I
about,
know.
how do you find those groups? Because people say to me all the time,
Yes.
well, how do I find them? I mean, you never know whether
Yeah.
it's an alma mater of your university or whether it's, the local folks. Look, in our neighborhood, we have the women's business group. I mean, it's just all of us that get together that, network with each other. And why? I mean, why not? And so I
Yeah.
think that there's so many ways. It's
Yeah.
just about finding it. And there may be some that you get in, you're like, why did I do this? Don't waste your time. Get
Time.
out. If it's
Yeah.
not the right fit, don't stay in something that you don't think is going to benefit you long term.
Oh, yeah.
So
But you don't know until you try. I mean, that's
that's
why I say just go out there and try. You don't know. Because, like I said, me too. I'm always still searching for different things, different ways that I can meet people. And I live in a small town, so I don't really have that kind of options near me. So this is why I do more virtual stuff. But eventually, I hope to be able to get to the point where I get to travel and do in-person stuff. And I'm always looking out for that. But that's my point. Exactly. You just don't know until you try. So just want to encourage anyone listening. If you've been like kind of something pops up, like comes up in your feed or speaks to you, come to my next Mama Means Business event. That's a great place where we come and we just chit chat. We get to talk about the realness of being moms and business and actually talk about our business because I want people to have that confidence of being like, this is who I am. This is what I have to offer because you never know who might need it or will just support you, even if it's just sharing about something
right. That's
with
right.
their audience. There's all sorts of ways that we can be with each other and uplift each other. So I just love what you're all about so
Well,
much. And I wanted, for anyone listening, if they wanted to come into your world and follow you on your journey or learn more about what you have to offer, what would you say was the best way to get in contact with you?
so LinkedIn's a great way, obviously. And then I have my podcast. I have a podcast as well. It's Get Real, Get Results. Mine's a little bit different than yours. It's a quick 15 to 20 minutes and it's for probably more motivational than anything, but I'll talk about all aspects of the world, whether it's leadership, being a mom. I did forget my daughter over the summer at summer school. So just FYI, we've all been there and done that. So that was great. She was really appreciative that I actually put that out there in the world. But I want moms to know that we all struggle. And so again, I'm just trying to do the same thing you are. How can we make the biggest impact? Because if we don't start normalizing these conversations,
Yeah.
then we're not going to achieve what we want to achieve in life. And so I want, just like you, I want to normalize. So my podcast, Get Real, Get Results. I have a website, chantellpreston.com. So again, any way you want to hit me up, I'm all for it. Instagram, LinkedIn, all the same things that you are.
Absolutely. And I always love to open the floor too. Is there any final piece of advice you'd like to leave for listeners today?
Oh my gosh, there's so much. Start before you're ready is a big one for me. But also, the one thing you're not going to get back in life is time. And so be so protective of that time and how you spend it. And it's not about giving it out to everybody else, but also time for yourself. We live in a chaotic, crazy world with 9,000 things. So, again, block a little bit of time for yourself. We don't break meetings with other people. Schedule yourself a meeting with yourself once a week and don't break it. And then do whatever you want to do, whether it's go for a walk, get a massage, work on email responses, but take that time for yourself because I think burnout is a big issue. And I
Yeah.
want to make sure women stay in the workforce because they need us.
Absolutely. Yes, exactly. Because it's when we allow ourselves to get burnt out or to feel like we have to be ready or perfect before we can do, like we're depriving the world of our gifts. We're
Right.
depriving the world of someone else getting that transformation or that the blessings that they need. So just think about that too, But I love that. Yes, carve out some time for yourself, put that time block on your calendar and show up for you. That is super
And
important.
and have some fun. Life doesn't
Yes.
have to be so serious. And everybody thinks I'm a little crazy, which I am,
No.
but life should be fun. Laugh as
Yes.
much as you can, hug the ones you love, and tell people how much you love them and appreciate them because it makes all the difference in the world. And you may not realize how important that is to the other person.
Couldn't said it better myself. You are amazing, and I cannot thank you enough for being part of the show. Thank you, Chantel, so much again. Just appreciate you so much.
Thank you, Mary. And thank you for all you're doing to get this out there to more women. So thank you.
Oh, it's truly my passion, my pleasure, and I'm just grateful that God has chosen me to be able to do this. So thank you again. I appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe below, follow along, and always leave a comment. Tell me what was your favorite takeaway. What are some things that are coming up for you through these conversations? I really love to hear from my listeners and know that I'm always here for you. If anyone listening is ready to take action and really follow through and implement the goals that you set out for, as well as work on that mindset and really step into your full potential and the CEO of your life, then I invite you, schedule your free 1 hour limitless mom strategy call with me while they're available. And let's explore where you are, where you want to be, and how we can bridge that gap together. I can't thank you all enough for tuning in each week. Always remember, until next time, keep rising, keep shining, and keep believing in everything that is available for you, Mama. You are worthy, you deserve it, and I'm so grateful to be walking this journey alongside you. Much love.